Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Stonehearth. We are continuing off from last time, working on the row homes. These row homes are complete now. These are the base kind of 4, 5. There's one missing that's just kind of a centerpiece. It was the first one we made. That was a variant of this, so it's not placed anymore. But these turned out really nice. We have a duplex version here, which, pretty standard to have. And I just wanted the roof to be rotated. And the best way to do that is obviously make a rectangle going left to right rather than vertically. So that was how I got that piece thought out. And then over here, this is just the other end piece. It has that side jut. And then also I gave it a back jut. Don't really have much depth to the back end to these buildings, so I feel like just having that every now and then would be pretty beneficial. So, if you think about row homes, they're very much like a bookshelf in terms of what's in them. So they have a left side, kind of capping it, the middle, whole bunch of homes, kind of just in line with each other. They can be different sizes and shapes, and then a right side kind of capping it. So that's kind of the mentality I was using when I was designing these. Now, obviously, if we're going to be transitioning from a town, which is this area here, into more of a city feel, we're going to need a lot more of these row homes, a lot more dense kind of structures, and I went ahead and did that. Here we are. This is kind of the plans of how everything turned out. I copied the first 5 around in different patterns, and then also changed the roof colors, some of the wall colors, some of the kind of the windowsill colors, just so we have some variety and some different color variations, because you can't have everything just being a copy and paste. You gotta have something to just break it up, make it look not quite as repetitive. I don't want to build these real time, so we're going to spawn these in. The main reason being is that this would take hours and hours and hours for these Hearthlings to construct. I don't have that time when it comes to recording. I can't just let this sit and play, because I also have to pay attention, make sure they're all being safe in doing so. So we're just going to use the IB command in the console here. Now IV. I'm not giving blood or anything. There we go. IB. And that just spawns them in for us. So that's going to save us a lot of time here initially. Now they're going to be unfurnished, which I'm okay with. We have technically enough furniture to last our current population. It's not going to increase anymore. But this is just for looks at this point. Though I do want to go in between episodes and furnish them. So that will be coming soon enough. This is looking good. I'm really liking the kind of variety of the roof lines. Adding this type of density and color variation is going to definitely make our city stand apart. From a distance, everything is just transitioning from rural to high density. And that's the kind of how I design my builds, even in timber and stone. Always started with farmland, always started with some light residential buildings, and then just moved to higher density stuff later on, because investing that heavy and defending yourself is rather hard to do. So that's why we kind of build in this way, and it's also kind of the natural progression of things. So this episode, what we're going to be working on is this green patch here. Now, this is going to be the transition from kind of the industrial area and kind of half slum area that we have going on there. And I was thinking we need a chapel. Chapels, of course, they would be wanting to help the poor or what have you. And so I figured this would be an okay spot for one. It's not going to be a cathedral. It's not going to be huge. It's going to be a small church, chapel kind of thing. So we're going to be building that on camera. I don't know if I want the graveyard to be in the same green space, or if I want the graveyard to be kind of along the cliffside here. They can be separated. As long as they're relatively close together, I think it'll look okay. But we'll be working on that. And then also, what I want to do is add our little backyard garden areas to these. Now, they don't have proper back doors, as I don't really have the room for it. when I was designing these. So we will be adding fences and fence gates to assist with getting that placed. Okay. Oh, whoa. I am already building incorrectly here. Now, there is going to be a little bit of an issue. This isn't going to line up perfectly, which I'm okay with. You know, it happens. These aren't really measured and pre-planned to have these kind of backyards like this. It's just kind of an afterthought that I thought. This area would be nice to have kind of green space kind of tucked on the backside. Keep the roads really dense. And this is why I like working in fantasy or working in medieval kind of eras. It's just, I love these narrow streets. It gives such a nice feeling when you look down them, and it just makes the whole place look very busy, just inherently, just because there's no room, there's no green space available anymore. It's all been used up, and they've just been having to build upwards at this point. So they're gonna go ahead and lay down those fences, and we are going to start laying out our plans for a small church here. Alright, foundation. Obviously, we are going to go with stone. We'll just start with this gray here. Now, I want a little bit of an entryway. So 25 by 14. There we go. That's not quite a 2 by 1 ratio, but I think it'll work out okay. And then I'm gonna give it just a little bit of side wings here. Nothing too major. Just gonna go out 3 blocks. Just for a layer of depth, you know. There we go. And walls. Obviously, it's going to be a stone structure. Don't really require much thought on that part. And we're going to have to somehow increase, obviously, the front here. It needs to be 2 stories tall. It needs to be relatively open on the interior. At least that's how I view churches on the most part. And if I can just get a little pathway here, I believe what this will allow me to do is generate a new wall without having to put the whole floor in. If not, then I can manually use the wall tool. It's not a big deal, but it's definitely on the table. Alright, let's see. Ooh. So it's not gonna let me do that. Now, if maybe, I don't know if I was on the floor tool when I designed that real quick. Let's just give this a test. Yeah, no, I wasn't. But maybe having that jut in would be pretty cool. I know I said this wasn't going to be a big structure, but look at it. It's already kind of a large structure here. Let's back up a little bit. And I think I'll just do manual walls. Because really just the center kind of section here needs to be tall. Nothing else does. So column material, we can use, of course, the dark again. There we go. Now the nice thing is this will allow the wings to have a different height level, which always kind of looks nice. From the rest. I don't know if I want to add the, I believe this is the, either the Asp or nave? I forget. I'm either confusing this point in the center here or from the end kind of shrine section, but I think it's the asp. Because it's kind of like ass end of the structure, I think. I'm probably wrong. I'm always wrong. Like, what? You guys know more than I do. Why don't you just let me know down below? Because I can't really Google it while recording. It'll be a little weird to do. So we got that. We can increase those. You know, these walls are really tall. Like almost too tall. Well, maybe not. I'm going to kind of do an inverted roof structure here. This is going to keep the inside open and then kind of seal out the outside. And then the roof, I don't know what we want to do for the roof color. The roof color, I mean, we could use maybe red. Just give us some red tiles. It would look a little Italian. And we would probably want something a little bit fancy on the front. We can add some light buttressing, not flying buttresses. You can just do that with walls, maybe. Let's test this real quick. So I need to leave, I think, what, 4 spaces here for windows? And we can use these very fancy windows on the lower level. In fact, let's just leave the 2 space. There we go. So that's just going to add a little bit more detail for us, which will hopefully look pretty nice. Trying to figure out how to do this at the end without making it look like a mess, but didn't really plan this out in terms of column spacing. It's kind of something I suggest doing if you're doing like churches or anything like this. You really want to get the spacing kind of predetermined earlier on. And I can even do the interior columns using the wall tool. That's actually pretty handy. I never thought of using the wall tool like this. Now the interior columns, we can... let's make them lighter. That might be something. Even though that's not really what I wanted. That needs to be... there we go. Column material, boom. And this one, right? Oh wow. I'm gonna have to go in and actually manually color each of these columns, so we'll just place them first. It's not a big deal. There's just gonna be a few, just something to hold the weight. The roof on these type of structures tend to be very heavy just because it's stone or tiles. I might do a little bit of a jut out for the entrance as well eventually. That'll be pretty cool. But just make sure we're safe. Gotta stay at least partially alert. We may have a decently sized army, but if someone on our area tends to just run off, then it's not gonna help anything. And just like that. Cool. So roof color, can this even generate the roof? No. Lord, no. Look at that. That looks a little absurd. We'll see about changing that. If I go with a really light color, I might be able to even just add a little bit of a wider base on these. Ooh. Do I hear wolves? I think I heard wolves. Or something. I don't know where they are. It sounded like they were like right there, but... Oh, there they are. Okay. Well, that problem solved. It'll be dead by this afternoon. So, interior. I need to change the wall here again. Sometimes working with this wall tool is not super ideal. So, that color and that color. And this color, that color. Oop, did I just place down a wall or something? It's really hard to tell sometimes. Okay, so changing all the columns. Slowly but surely we'll get it done. So an enemy is approaching. I'm assuming that's those wolves. Don't really care about it. Ah, no. The two warriors are enough by themselves for that. So it'll be nice to have the interior a little bit brighter. Ah, good. I was a little actually worried that the double door wouldn't fit there. Kind of glad it does. And then window, we're going to use fine. Obviously, the church has money. Money to burn. There we go. That'll look pretty cool. And just one on each little wing here. And I think I might have room for the graveyard on the back side. This is probably one of the absolute worst churches I've ever built so far. But it's one of those things where sometimes you just gotta take it to completion. Otherwise, you just don't have quite the understanding of how everything's coming together. And you always have a chance of salvaging it anyways. Now the question is, do I want to bother with a clear story? That's kind of a cathedral thing, but this thing is rather tall for just being a normal church. Tell you what, let's see what that even looks like. Clear stories, just small windows that go across, just to allow some additional light in. Only on the sides, though. And in fact, we can go ahead and just throw down these roof tile elements. Alright. That looks fairly nice. Oh. Undo that. Trim it down to size a little bit better. Now, I am thinking about building a manor home next. The manor home is just going to be the one really large house. It's going to be probably where like the main merchant of the city town lives. And then I was thinking after that we could do the actual barracks and castle. So I'm thinking the barracks is going to go here at the end of this road. And then I'm thinking the castle will be right here because I kind of want it close to the water. One, because I mean, I want this shot to have the castle right there. And then two, you got to protect your port. You know, if you're a port town, you got to have defenses near the port as well. So definitely want the castle along the river, I think. Also gives you an escape route option as well. So we'll hop back in here. Continue putting down the slightly thicker support sections for these. Now you can actually get fancy with probably just the pillar bottoms. You know, give them height or something. You can also I think all the arches and stuff, I kind of want this really light gray. That's actually a brick, but it looks like stone anyways. Because I think it's a little bit more regal looking. So door frames in here will be this color. Walls will be just the solid stone. But arches, door frames, detailing will be as light as possible. Now I also want to take out this floor here. And replace that with a better color, I think. Now, do we go light? I think light works. Because everything's so dark in here that it just makes it a little bit brighter on the interior. You can form a little bit of a cross, and in fact you can even make it into a Nordic cross kind of floor pattern by adding these little wings here. There you go. It's almost as if I planned it to look nice. Okay, I need to sell some things. Been having some inventory problems. We just have so much stuff. And the vendors really don't have enough gold to keep up with me selling stuff all the time. And really, I have to start spending gold. So, can I buy... Yeah, let's buy all the ore up. That'll spend some gold for sure. So we'll buy ore. That way we can create weapons and then maybe sell it, and that'll cut down on our overall gold supply. And also it'll allow us to keep maintaining these little turrets, kind of guarding the quarry, because they do get attacked from time to time. Okay, so here is that section, and I also want to maybe bulk up these just a little bit. We'll just go 3 tall. And really, I think that's going to add a little bit more depth than normal. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I've been watching the Planet Coaster live stream at Gamescom. It's been great to watch. A lot of great information coming out from everything in Alpha 3. So the blueprint system, transitioning to Steam, moving to more management stuff, which I think everyone will be pretty excited for. I think management has been something that's been a little missing so far, but it's been in beta for so long. Not beta, alpha. It's not even beta yet. Okay, so this front. Column. was that? It's like I unclicked and everything disappeared. Floors. Let's go grab this. So something that looks a little bit like a welcoming area will be nice. Now normally the churches would have a foundation, relatively large actually, and then they would have a pretty grand staircase on the front. You know, it turns out I might actually want to add towers. It's going to be a relatively plain looking structure if I don't add some type of vertical element here. And so to just get that solved as quickly as possible, I think this is going to be the best solution. So we'll add 2 frontal towers. And the towers are nice because they'll give us just that extra little layer. I know I said it wasn't building a cathedral, but it's basically a cathedral, just net in total size. And it'll have that extra height here. It might need to be even taller, but we'll solve that when we actually put the roof on, where I actually know the true height on everything. In fact, we're already at like 27 minutes or so, and I'm gonna try something kind of new now. I think you guys wanted me to do this in a little bit of a speed build, so I'm gonna try that on this episode. We'll see how well it goes, and if you guys like it, maybe I can do them more often. Hey, and welcome back after the speed build section, and we have made some good progress. Here is the finished chapel, church, small cathedral, not really though. If you think about it, it's missing some major elements here, so I'm calling it more of a chapel. So we have a pretty cool entrance. If you look at entrances, say like Notre Dame or maybe the Duomo in Italy, they have these really kind of sunken in entryways, and they have quite the nice facade. So that's really what I'm trying to capture here with this. You even threw in some different color variations just to separate the levels of depth a little bit easier for you guys. Also added a gong up here at the top, because we don't really have anything for like a rosary window or anything quite that fancy. And considering we have a ledge from the facade, I could actually kind of balance one of these things up there. And I think it turned out okay. it's pretty much centered on there square enough. And from far away, it's some type of symbol that kind of fits the theme. So I'm all up for that. Was able to actually use some gargoyles. I haven't used these pieces in any of my structures yet. And I use them as kind of what's holding up sections of the overhanged roof. So I think that turned out really nice. And, you know, it's nice to have these elements sticking out where we just normally wouldn't. So that's a additional layer added onto there. On the back side, we have kind of the graveyard park-esque area. So the graves of all of our fallen are along the back wall here. Even added some planters on the back just to make it look a little bit more nice and fancy, as if it's a spot for people to leave some items for the dead. The back side, pretty standard. It's almost reminiscent of our homes over there. In fact, the church is not much taller than these. In fact, actually, this one here is still taller. I think it's just because it has a wider starting point, so the roof line becomes taller. But the big thing that gets it the height are those towers. What's over here? I'm hearing some baddies, and I'm gonna have to go take care of that. Okay, other than that, I'm starting to lay out these gardens. Now, these gardens are gonna be filled in with these planters, and they're gonna look kind of English, about as best as I can do possibly. There's not many of these bushes left around to use as decoration either, so I'm gonna have to try and use them sparingly, but we'll see what we can do. It seems to have forgotten a grave. There we go. So that'll balance that out actually a little bit more. On the front side as well, I wanted to have a fountain here. Sadly, I didn't scale it correctly enough for that to be effective. So it's just something we're gonna have to skip over for now. Though I am wanting maybe a bird bath there would look okay. I kind of wanted to put down the sword one. The sword one we were gonna use for the academy and maybe the castle. But if you think about it, it kind of looks like the master sword. And this being a small chapel thing, that would have been really cool. But obviously, it's just not centered on there. There's not enough room. It's a way larger of a fountain than I thought it would be. Oh, wow. Okay, so going straight for the combat today. All these archers are very devastating. I mean, 5 level 6 archers. You can see how quickly we're taking down the ogre here. And after that, these archers just pretty much fall very quickly. Though our people are rather hungry. You can see just taking chunks of their life there. But yeah, gonna put in some English gardens here soon. Same on the backside here and the backside along these. So that'll be cool. But overall, I mean, the town is just being filled in really nice. And so I'm pretty happy with the progress we've made in Stonehearth. And, you know, comparably, I would say this is very reminiscent of the Timber and Stone, our first season in that, where we had that giant town and castle. The only thing missing in this is the exterior walls. So I think we're going great. Go ahead and show you some of the interior. Still waiting on them to craft kind of the rest. There was a little bit of a problem with building. I lost the motif here with the cross. I think I was building this plaza out here, and it changed all of the flooring to the same color. It happens. You just have to be mindful of stuff like that. But the interior, you know, we have some pews, though I'm still waiting for more benches to be added. We have some left and right kind of rooms, kind of altar rooms. The main altar here with a chair, and I moved the camp standard in here, so when we tell our citizens to go hide and meet at the town center, they actually all hide in the church, which I think is a fairly accurate thing for them to be doing. So it was a good choice. It's not really the safest structure. The safest structure is still the mine, but getting everyone inside this building, I think it looks pretty cool in the long run. Okay, you guys can go back to work. Anyways, I think that's going to do us for this episode. If you guys enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like so I know to make sure to keep on going as we move on to the military district here soon, real soon. And go ahead and check out my other videos if you're new. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think so far, what should be added. And I'll see you guys next time in some Stonehearth.